So today on Practical Church Planting, we're talking about how we can reach more people online. Specifically, in this episode, we're going to give you 6 free ways to increase your online visibility.
Well, welcome back to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less, we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brandon Drosian. Joining me is Dylan Dodson.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for chiming in there. Yeah. And today we're talking about 6 free ways to increase your online visibility.
Yeah, so we're not talking about paying for Facebook ads or paying money at all. These are things that you can do to help people find you easier online.
Yes.
And you know what I'm so excited about these 6? Is that you could literally like do all of them, maybe except the last one today.
Yeah.
Or start to do all of them today. And you could actually do it. So some of these things you might have just never thought of doing.
Yep.
Well, that's what we're here for.
They're not the most high tech, but
they're free.
They're free.
And they actually work.
Yes.
So without further ado, number 1, ask for Google reviews.
From who?
So your people at your church. We've said this a lot, especially when it comes to social media engagement. Like your people like your church. They want to help your church. They just sometimes don't know how.
Yeah.
And this is an easy way for you to tell your people here's what you can do. So actually, I did this before, but I actually did this last week in our church's Facebook group. I said, hey, we want some more Google reviews. Go to Google, type in New City Church, and leave us 5 stars.
Yep.
And that's all you have to do, because if you want your stuff to come up, to follow, especially in the area that you are in, if you want someone to type in your name, the more reviews you have, the better. And the easiest way to get them is to simply ask your people to do it.
Yeah, and when we did this, I was surprised at the people that said, that said done, or I just did, or something like that I would have just assumed they would have already done it. Because there's people that
they just don't think about it.
Would of course leave a 5-star review because they're totally bought in and everything like that. But yeah, people just don't even. Once you go somewhere for a certain amount of time, you don't think about the reviews. You're not actively Googling them, so you don't even think that that's a thing that needs to be done.
Right. So if you want your church to come up more in your area, your city, your town, people are looking for churches, the more Google reviews you have, the better it is for you.
Yep.
And the best way to get it is actually make sure you, like, and your spouse have actually done it.
That's a good
You could
place to
ask your
start.
friends that care about you and your church plant that don't even live in the area to give you a review. Yeah. But just ask for reviews. You'll get more reviews. Your church will come up a lot quicker and a lot easier when people search for churches.
That's like the easiest thing you can do.
So actually do it. Ask for reviews. People will be glad to do it. Number 2, after you ask for Google reviews, maybe wait a week to do this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to blow your mind. Ask for Facebook reviews. So your Facebook page, just like on Google, your website page, the more people that leave reviews, the more likely your content is going to show up in people's news feeds. Actually, their friends will see that they left a review anyway. But 5-star Facebook reviews makes your page show up because Facebook sees more people like this page, more people are engaged with this page. Because it's one thing to like it. It's another thing to actually give it a 5-star review. And again, we've done this a couple of times. I'm actually going to ask this week in our Facebook group for more Facebook reviews to spread it out. So literally, we're doing what we're telling you to do.
That's right.
To get more of them. And your people will do it. It takes like 5 seconds to do it. And it makes your Facebook page also more searchable, more visible, and it'll make your native content as you post on Facebook show up more people's feeds because Facebook sees a lot of people like this page.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many people don't do this or don't have really any reviews. When we were looking for New City, we've explained this in the past, but it was prior to launch. We were looking for a church that was getting ready to launch, and we were finding churches that we had no idea if they were meeting or had no idea if they had closed up shop or had ever launched or didn't launch. And one of the ways that didn't help, one of the ways that helped us not know what churches were doing was we'd pull them up on Facebook and there'd be 0 reviews.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like that's the only factor, but that mixed with stuff we talk about often, like posting often and things like that, churches weren't doing any of these things. So we're sitting there wondering, like, is this just a dream they had to hopefully launch and so made a Facebook page and then didn't, or what's even going on? So having reviews and recent reviews just help people know that there's people going and people like it now. Yeah,
that's actually a really good point. I mean, the more reviews, the more 5-star reviews you can have in general are always helpful, but especially if you're in the pre-launch phase or maybe you just launched, like if you want people to go to your page and see like, is this like you joined us before we launched, and one of the reasons you did is because we're actually active on Facebook, but like, oh, these people have reviews, like it's actually a real thing.
Right.
And also having reviews that aren't like 2 or 3 years old. So if you're a little bit more established, been around for a while, if I see something hasn't been reviewed for 2 or 3 years, it could be like, does this even exist?
Yeah.
So not only asking them to get more reviews, but asking periodically, especially on Facebook, because it shows the last time they reviewed it, the date, is a great way, and it's free. And your people will do it. They just don't know it's a thing that needs to be done.
And as a little bonus, I guess we'll find out next week, or you'll probably be able to tell me if they still do this or not. But I know Facebook used to, when someone reviews something, they'd make like a post out of it and say like, this person reviewed it.
Maybe.
So an extra little post.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Google, number 1, Facebook reviews, number 2. Number 3, guys, you're never going to guess what I'm going to say here. not another review.
As for Instagram reviews.
Yeah. Well, when it comes out, ask for your people to engage your content. So again, this is another easy thing to do. A lot of times your people will see it, they'll scroll past it. But if you tell your people, hey, the more, especially on Facebook and Instagram is becoming more like this as well.
Yeah.
The more that it's organically engaged with, in other words, the more instead of not when you like paid to boost it, but you just posted it, the more people that like it, the more people that Facebook will show your page's post to in other people's feeds.
Yeah.
If nobody likes it or comments on it, it will only show it to a small percentage of the people that actually like your page. The more people that like it, the more people it will show it to. And if your people know, hey, every time I see a post, for example, if you go to New City Church about New City, even if I don't necessarily care about it, I'm always going to like it. Or if possible, I'm going to try to figure out a way to comment on it. The more times you do that, the more likely your stuff will show up in other people's stuff. And again, your people don't know. They see your stuff, they scroll past it, or they never see your stuff because it's a page, and Facebook greatly reduces the number of page posts people see in their news feed. But if you tell people, hey, be proactive about it, even check our page once in a while, go through. I don't think people necessarily do it on purpose, but there are times where I'll get notifications where someone's gone and liked like the past 6 posts that we've done. Right. And it's some of our most engaged people at New City because they know it's a thing. Literally, I'm not even making that up. This happens. Probably a couple times a month, I'll have someone go in and like a bunch of older posts because they know, and we have communicated, hey, when you see something like it, so more people will be able to see it. It's a free way. And again, your people will do it. They just don't know it's a thing.
Yeah, this can be something that if you're big into social media or feel like you know a lot about it, you might think like, well, obviously people know that if they like something, it'll show up more. If they need to comment on it, but people don't. I mean, I even speaking of myself, and maybe this is like sacrilegious to say since we talk so much about social media, but on my personal stuff, I'm a very passive social media person. Like I read stuff, I look at stuff, but I don't really ever post anything. I don't really ever engage with much. And so if I didn't know that this was the thing, that I wouldn't really like or comment anything. Right. It's not because I don't want to or because I don't care if it grows. It's just because I don't really do it with anything else.
Right. And that's a good point.
And so if someone never said that to me, then I would still be doing the same thing.
And honestly, sometimes I feel awkward, like when we post maybe the bottom line for Sunday, which normally is from me, or like a little clip from our message, I'll feel awkward liking it because it's like, do I look like I like my own stuff? But I'll still do it because I want other people to see it, and hopefully they're not judging me for it because I do feel kind of weird. But I'll like it. I like everything that New City posts, not just because it's like people go, of course you're going to like your own stuff, but because I know if I like it, it's more likely to show up in other people's feeds. And like you said, a lot of people will just passively look at stuff. They don't actually engage in it. But if you tell them that they should and it actually matters because it does, you'll see some results there. Yeah.
So before we move on to the rest, these 3 are all asking people to do things.
Yes.
Is there any, just playing devil's advocate, is there any like, well, you're manipulating the system, or you're asking for 5-star reviews, what's up with that, kind of thing?
Well, the people that are going to give you a 5-star review probably like your church to begin with.
Sure.
And so they don't know it's a thing to do. So, I mean, like when I asked for Google, none of the people that left the review would lay anything less than 5 stars.
Yeah.
They all love the church. And if you're gaming the system.
And
I guess.
I mean, we've done things in the past with other like organizations that we've been a part of where we had to get people to leave reviews, and all we've ever said is just leave an honest review. Yeah. If you hate us, leave a review.
Right.
But no one's going to do that.
If you feel bad. If you feel bad asking for 5 stars, you could say that too.
Yeah, but I mean, in reality, if they're going there, they don't hate it.
I have not been convicted in that way, so I tell them what to give us.
Now you are.
All right, good news. We're done with the asking. Here's some things that you can do. Number 4, don't only post announcements. Now, we've talked about this in various social media posts, so go back and listen to all of them. But if you post just, hey, come to this event or sign up for this thing, well, nobody's going to engage your stuff because they know intuitively every time they see a post from your church, it's asking them to do something. It's never something that they have fun with. It's never something that they can get something out of. It's always just like, come to this thing or go do this thing. And if you post like that, your stuff's going to stop showing up at as many people's news feeds because nobody engages with that stuff. Yeah. But also, it's just like nobody cares. I mean, if you followed your friend who was always posting, come see me at the show, like let's say they were a musician, all they posted about was come see me at the show. Eventually, you'd be like, all right, unfollow.
Tune it out.
And so don't just post only announcements. You could post some pictures like, from the services or the bottom line, or maybe you could post a thing of like comment below. Although Facebook right now doesn't really like when you do that, but still. You could still say, hey, comment below with your favorite. Yeah. If it's a holiday, whatever it is, or your GIF about this thing. Like, not everything has to be hyper spiritual or hyper event focused. Just post something that people actually want to be social on, so that your post will show up in more people's feeds.
Yeah, if you think of Facebook or social media in general as less of a bulletin board where you just like post information that hopefully people will take home with them, and more of a community, then I think it'll be easier to figure out what to post. If you just treat it as hopefully people do this for me and do this for me and do this for me, which is, there's no like, it comes across almost as us saying like, hey, that's a sinful thing to do. And like, that's just natural for us to treat it like that way because that's the easiest audience we have. Yeah. But treat it as more of a community. People will actually engage with that community.
Yeah, that's true. So don't just post only announcements.
Yeah.
Number 5, which is, to be totally honest, something that we just started doing here at New City, or we've had it for a while, but we just started like actually using it more. And that is creating a church Facebook group.
Yeah. And it's worked out real well.
Yeah, so far. I mean, there's some things I'd like to see us do better and do more of, but we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
For us, if you're a partner, which we call members, or if you are serving, we add you to the group. For us right now, we have like 60-something people. I mean, obviously more people. Not everyone is on Facebook. Not everybody serves. So I think we have like 60-something as of the time we recorded this, and we just started doing it more. The nice thing about that is Facebook groups, especially because Facebook is pushing them so much, will show up in your feed, and oftentimes it will notify you. So the really cool thing is like when we have announcements about stuff that it's actually relevant to the whole church. Don't just post every little thing because people tune it out. Like they get notified of it. So this past week we had an outdoor movie night, so I got to post about that because that's fun. Or if there's like a request, like for us this Saturday night, I posted, hey, when you come into our auditorium, because of the way our chairs are set up, just long story short, if you could sit on the left, come to the left side, and that way the right side is open because our door to the auditorium is not like the back, it's to the side. Anyway, it's just helpful that we keep the right side seats open as people are coming in so our greeters can seat people once the service starts. So stuff like that, it beats an email or a text message, and people like to communicate with each other. And so create a Facebook group. We'll do I guess an episode on how to do that in the future. But creating a Facebook group just with the people that call your church home makes it really easy to communicate with your church because Facebook highly values those things.
Yeah, one of the cool things about it is people will use it to also comment. Like we monitor obviously and we moderate it, but we allow people to post in it that are involved in the group. And I remember 2 years ago, I think it was, at Exponential, Carrie Newhoff was talking about this, and it's probably not recorded anywhere, so you can't verify it. But and I'm going to totally butcher it. But he was talking about having kind of like layers of like kind of like almost like inner circles of people, or what who you'll kind of release information to,
right?
And how people want to kind of learn information before the public does.
Yeah.
And so what the group does is we don't like necessarily give them privileged information, but it does create sort of a sense of, hey, this is my community, right. and we can interact with each other. This isn't just like I said, not just a bulletin board for us to post announcements,
right.
But we can interact with each other, and it's not the same as just a public thing for everybody.
Right. And I think that point is good. So last week when I posted on our Facebook group, hey, we need 5-star Google reviews. Here's why it's important.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to announce that from stage on a Sunday.
Yeah, right.
You don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you're in the launch phase and you haven't launched yet with your launch team, do it. But like on a typical Sunday service, no. But now in their Facebook group, they were like, oh, this matters, and like I didn't know this matters. It's this feeling of like, oh, or even something as simple as, hey, sit here when you're coming into the auditorium. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing, you know? And so it's like only the people in that group know that that's what we need.
Yeah.
And so, it allows people to feel like they get to know some things that are going up. Certain prayer requests for the church. A lot of stuff we'll post in there first, and it creates some engagement. So create a Facebook group for your church, and we'll do another episode on what that could look like. But it's free, and Facebook really likes those groups.
Yep.
And then lastly, number 6, something that we have I would say a love-hate relationship with, but really right now it's just a hate-hate relationship.
Love.
It's Google AdWords. If you're a nonprofit, you can get a Google grant to get AdWords. We had one, and it got taken away a year ago, and we still haven't gotten it back because it's terrible. But if you haven't created one yet, then it's easier to get set up than ours is trying to get reinstated because, again, it's the worst. But it's free. Brian, you deal with it, so you can speak to this.
They give $10,000 worth of kind of credit for Google AdWords to nonprofits. You have to apply and get approved and all that stuff. But if you do, it's a great thing. The thing that they did was they changed it so there's a lot more stipulations on what you can post and how much engagement you have to reach all the time to be able to keep it, which they didn't used to have. So we joined when they didn't used to have it, then they changed it, and then we got booted.
We didn't know that they had it.
We didn't know they changed it. So
great.
So if you do this, which everybody should do this, just make sure you learn all of their kind of rules and regulations and what you need, and make sure you have someone monitoring it. But if you have somebody on top of it that can monitor it from the beginning, it's great. I mean, when we had it, we monitored our
it was really helpful when we had
how much engagement we got on our website. We've never come close to what we had when we had it.
I mean, 3 or 4 times as much when it worked. So I mean, I know they've changed it now, so it's not as helpful. They really restricted the things that you can use. But if you haven't set it up, look for it. It's free. If you can get through the process, it is helpful for people to find your website way easier.
Yes. Yep.
So again, those are 6 free ways. Number 1, ask for Google reviews. 2, ask for Facebook reviews. 3, just ask people to engage your content. 4, don't only post announcements. 5, create a church Facebook group. And lastly, Google AdWords. And maybe we'll do an episode on that one day, Brian, when you get us all straight.
One day, episode 500.
And don't forget, if you like the podcast, we'd love for you to share it and review it on iTunes so more people can find it. And we even have, talking about groups, a Practical Church Planting Facebook group that you can join, ask questions. We have a lot of fun in there. Thanks for being with us, and we'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planting. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planting. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planting, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast if you just search Practical Church Planting on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.